Hi, YouTubies. It's me, Zacharymike, also. And thanks so much for being so patient while I was on vacation. I had a lovely time. I'm not going to get all into that all over again because I just spent the hour of stream prior to starting this recording talking about it. So if you do happen to want to go on Twitch, you can hear me talk about my trip to Seattle there. You can watch the video on demand, or the VOD, as they like to call it. Now, Rad's Rumpus, you know that is not what I said. You are so goofy. Anyways, I need everybody to lock in with me today, because today, we're going to cover something. I don't know. I don't know. It's not like the typical thing that I would cover over here, and it does require you to have some level of context from me, Zacharymike, onto why we're doing this.
We meant to do this before the recording, but yay, 31 months.
Spooky Queen Gaming, thanks for 31 months of Prime. Appreciate it. So, if y'all don't know my lore, one of the reasons I started making content that I make on the internet is well, for multiple reasons. One, I started watching Amberlynn Reid back in the day, was just fascinated by her as a concept. Initially enjoyed her content, enjoyed her as a person, yada yada yada. Obviously, if you know anything about me, that is not the case anymore. It's not the case anymore. And I have, in fact, actually made a lot of commentary, reaction types of videos about her. But one of the reasons I even knew that like there was an audience for like commentary on YouTubers, commentary, reactions, etc., is because around the same time I started getting recommended videos from this man, Peter Monn. And Peter Monn at the time occasionally made videos about Amy Slayton, Amberlynn Reid, etc., which is what inspired me to make a video, because there might be a world where somebody was interested. Are we watching Peter? No. But we are going to talk about Peter. Yeah? Okay. Because also, I here's what I will say, because this is, I think, important. Okay, what I will say is that, much like anything I talk about on the internet, all of my opinions, thoughts, etc., are based in my personal experiences, my interactions with people both online and in my personal life, and they're my opinions. So some of this is gonna maybe come across to some people as being biased when I tell you that Peter Monn in general is somebody that to this day I consider a friend of mine, in the sense of, like, as good of a friend as somebody on the internet can be. I've never met Peter in real life, but I have spent time talking to Peter on the phone. He has been somebody who has been very thoughtful, helpful, caring towards me, and I hope in general he feels that way in return from me. We've talked about, like, when we talk on the phone, we generally talk about, like, YouTube business, etc., those kinds of things. Did you trap him on the phone like Raw Beauty Christie did? Brett, no. I didn't. Although I joke with him sometimes about like, sometimes he'll just text me and he'll be like, you got a second to talk? And I was like, you say a second, but you really mean like 45 minutes to an hour because one thing that's true about Peter Monn is he does like to yap. And I don't know that I've ever had a short conversation with him. But anyways, all of that to say, this will be biased to some extent. One, because he's my friend, but two, because I downloaded a bunch of his videos to watch on the plane ride home from Seattle while I played Balatro on my Nintendo Switch. And I was listening, and I'm gonna be honest, in the same ways that a lot of people could just sit and listen to me yap about whatever and talk about whatever, I oftentimes don't know what the fuck Peter is talking about these days because I don't really care about most of the beauty influencer space, which is primarily what Peter covers the most, right? Like, he got his start covering the Jeffree Stars. Well, I think his first video was like Jeffree Star, Kat Von D. I think he obviously then moved into like Manu MUA, Toddy Westbrook, Jaclyn Hill, all of those people. This is an alarming amount of prelude. I know. Well, I've only been yapping for 6.5 minutes so far. So anyways, I downloaded a bunch of his stuff to listen to, and he has an ongoing situation type of deal with Raw Beauty Christie, if you don't know. And by ongoing, I mean, at one point in time, he would shout out Raw Beauty Christie. She shouted out some of his like smaller YouTube channels. If you don't know, he has eight YouTube channels, I think. and so she shouted out one of his smaller YouTube channels, not even his main YouTube channel. So they were like friendly back in the day. And all of this kind of came to a head when Raw Beauty Christie was like liking posts or something about James Charles. And if you don't know the full lore, which I've watched a lot of Peter Monn videos, even though I don't really care about the people that he talks about most of the time. At one point, he was going through and he was talking about how he didn't really know if he could support people who were still following James Charles. So if you don't know, James Charles is a self-admitted predator. Okay, and like James Charles has said that he was talking to minors in his DMs, being weird. James Charles, gross loser. And so Peter Monn was talking about people that still followed him, and people in his comments were like, well, you really support Raw Beauty Christie, and Raw Beauty Christie still follows. And then that turned into a whole thing where Peter made a video about how Raw Beauty Christie still follows James Charles, was liking his posts. They had a phone conversation about it because Christie reached out to Peter, and Peter was like, we can talk about this. And it's turned into a whole thing where like Christie never ended up acknowledging the James Charles thing. Other stuff has come out about Christie that Peter Monn is like held her accountable for, including that her son was wearing a t-shirt that was associated with an organization that is very anti-trans. And people have called her out for that, and Peter is among those people. I should also say Peter is not the only person that's ever held Christie accountable, but that Peter gets a lot of the like blame for people not liking Christie now for some reason. She's never really fully addressed that I've seen. Again, I don't know nearly as much about this, to be fair to Christie. But from what I've seen, she hasn't done a lot to address those concerns. And so all of this to say, I was watching, I think it was this particular video, this one, my response to this Raw Beauty Christie mess, because there was another channel, this one, this person, whose channel is called The Disgruntled Townsperson. And the disgruntled townsperson, about a month ago, put out a nearly 4 hour long video. A nearly 4 hour long video called an incomplete, well, I think it was originally called something else, but she has since changed it to an incomplete deep dive about raw beauty Christie. And the whole thing was about how people were wrong to make assumptions about, we're not watching 4 hours, no. No, we're not. People were wrong about for making assumptions that Christie was alt-right, that she was MAGA, that she was this, that, the other. And a lot of that video, that one in particular, just ended up being like, oh, here's all the reasons why Peter Monn is awful and terrible. As opposed to, like, really discussing the points about Christie and whether or not she was problematic, whether or not she was engaging in problematic behavior, doing problematic things, this, that, the other. And at the time, I also watched Peter's response to that video. I will say I haven't watched all 3 hours, 49 minutes, and 27 seconds of this. So let me just say that as well. So anyways, Peter made a response to it. Lots of people were really upset with this particular video because a number of people were like, I think you really missed the mark on this video. Like, I think you're missing why people are upset with Christie and, like, why people have an issue with Christie. And the disgruntled townsperson was like, listen, I'm gonna take some time. I appreciate engaging in discourse with people. I'm gonna take some time to review the situation type of deal. And I'll come back with an updated video. I think they also maybe demonetized their video on their own, like chose to demonetize it. Blink, I appreciate you needing to let me know that. I will watch the Rosie stuff later. We're not here to discuss Rosie right now. We're in Twitch mode. So I'll get to Rosie for the main channel at a later time. But thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So you're saying you didn't do your research. I'm saying I didn't watch 4 hours of that video, because also this video is not inherently about that, but it does help to have the context of what that video is about. And it helps to have the context to know that people were upset with the disgruntled townsperson about this video lacking research, lacking, like, thorough thought out things. And she said, I'm going to go back and do more stuff about this, or look into this topic more. So that brings us back to this video about the response to the Raw Beauty Christie mess, because I was listening to this and it sounded like, Peter was responding actually to this video, a video called Online Commentary and the Myth of the Perfect Leftist, parentheses, a video essay. And as you can see, this is also a very long video. It's 2 hours long. We are going to start watching it about an hour and 15 minutes into it, and we may not even watch the whole part. Okay? We may not watch the whole video. I just want to watch the parts that are relevant to what Peter talked about, because I actually thought the conversation was interesting in a way that's, like, not necessarily 100% in defense of Peter, although I probably will defend him in this conversation. But basically what happens in this video that I want to watch with you all is that this person who refers to themselves as a video essayist, but who is also providing online commentary on her channel, has a whole video dedicated to talking about Raw Beauty Christie, had a whole video dedicated to talking about the Lipstick Lesbians, which I don't even know what that is, but that's, like, her most successful video. She has nearly 300,000 views on it. Has videos talking about people from Queer Ultimatum, has videos talking about Labubu's, talking about the L word. Like, generally, this is a person who's doing online commentary, okay? This is a person who's out here doing online commentary for whatever it's worth. Peter Monn, also somebody who does online commentary. You can look through his videos. You can see he's been talking a lot about, like, the Paige Christie, Adam McIntyre, Jen Dent situation. Also talking about James Charles. Talking about Shane Dawson, Gabby Hanna, Tana Mongoose, Michaela Noguera. So, like, somebody that's also in the commentary section. And basically, based on what I watched of Peter's video or listened to of Peter's video, is that this person, just in general, maybe has issues with, like, the online commentary space. And I do want to say in this video references Perez Hilton, who we're going to talk about here in a second, which unfortunately uploaded this video after all of the stuff with Perez Hilton happened. If you don't know what happened, it's a lot. We're not specifically actually going to talk about the things that happened to him on a live stream, but she in this video talks about Perez Hilton as a tabloid journalist. Okay. Oh yeah, please don't Google what happened to Perez Hilton. It's very, like, I haven't seen it myself because I've purposely avoided it, but it's very graphic. You don't want to see it. Don't do it. This isn't this doesn't necessarily have to do with what he did in a TikTok live stream. But it does have to deal with commentary about Perez Hilton, and comparisons she makes to online commentators like Peter Monn. And I think some of those things are interesting, and I think are going to overlap. I so much promise that this is relevant and, like, interesting to me, because the overlap here is that Homegirl has some stuff to say about gay men talking about women on the internet. And if you have been in my corner of the internet, you know that in somewhat recent history, Rosie has had things to say about gay men on the internet. And so that's what really sparked me to go seek this out, and why I thought it might be interesting for us to watch together. And yeah, I think that's the end of my prefacing. The end of my prologue. The end of my prelude. So, if you need to ask questions as we go along, feel free to ask. All right. Feel free to ask me as we go along. Feel free to discuss what that looks like with me. If there's stuff that comes up that I realize I didn't tell you about, I'll pause to give you the backstory. Some of this right at the beginning is going to be, and I haven't watched the entirety because I wanted to watch some of it with you all for the first time, but I have watched some of it just to make sure that I knew where I wanted to get started in this. And some of this at the beginning is going to come across as very, like, I don't know, like, academic, because I do think that this person is trying to position themselves as an academic. And I think that's interesting, because I don't think that that's, like, what a lot of people in the, like, drama commentary space try to position themselves as. Certainly not Peter Monn. Certainly not Peter Monn. Certainly, honestly, not me. Certainly also not me. Like, not that this woman is talking about me in any kind of way. I don't even know if this woman knows I exist. But, like, I think most people in this kind of space are not trying to be, like, academics. Some of us are just here for the hee-hees and the ha-has and watching stuff online. So, I'm gonna shut the fuck up, and I'm just gonna start playing it. And then I would love to have a discussion. Oh, yeah, and you can put 69s in the chat if you want. Oh my god. Oh, see, it's always a risk like trying to jump in the middle of some stuff. And part of this will like I'm sure pick up with some people on the actual YouTube. Maybe I should have waited a day or two until we had been back for a second before I just jumped into something like this. But here we go. Here we go. Let me turn her up.
Media. In the late 18th century, European printing presses began publishing outrageous stories about sex, crime, and humiliation called scandal sheets.
Oh, and by the way, she uses a wooden spoon as a microphone. Well, she doesn't actually have a microphone attached to the end of it, and she dresses in this costume. So
Accuracy wasn't the goal with these stories. Often journalists would take insignificant personal or private stories and portray them as a major influence on society, exaggerating things until they were barely recognizable. All the way back in the 1780s, people were reading headlines like this.
why is she hiding her face? I don't know. Outside of like, I guess anonymity, anonymity in the same way that I don't know. Like, I guess she just doesn't want to be her real life persona associated with whatever she's doing on the internet. Is she British? No, I think she's Australian.
Characters of the present most celebrated courtesans exposed with a variety of secret anecdotes never before published. Sounds familiar, right? These are the earliest forms of tabloid journalism and sensationalist media. Tabloids work for two distinct reasons. One, they're shocking and they produce strong emotional reactions. And two, they are a form of gossip.
A public accusation, or at least the exposure of the culprit of a scandalous act, is at the heart of most tabloid stories. In other words, tabloids offer readers and viewers a massive experience of engaging in the titillation and gratifications of gossip as a way to express hostility and to pressure rule breakers to abide by communal norms. Another social function of gossip in tabloids, according to experts, is that by becoming informed of the scandalous behavior of others, the self-esteem of media consumers is raised. Reading of the dysfunctions of others can make people perceive themselves as better, more respectable, moral, and law-abiding than the people they are reading about. This might be particularly true for groups of people who feel themselves unfairly diminished or disadvantaged.
Now, I'm going to be so honest, I don't know necessarily why she includes some of these clips. I do think some of that is interesting because I think that speaks to some of the conversations we have about morality in girl world and how people get upset at me being on like a moral high ground or whatever. And the reality is like comparatively to Rosie, Amberlynn, Chantal, etc., I do think I stand on I am morally above them. I think I personally think my morals are better than theirs. But it's interesting that like also the argument here is that like the gossip, the tabloids of it all is to make the reader feel like they're morally better than whoever they're reading about. But it's interesting to me that oftentimes people get upset that I think that I'm morally above people when the reality is that like I think that there is some truth to that. I think a lot of people do watch stuff about like girl world, drama in the beauty community, etc. because they do get some kind of satisfaction out of feeling like they're better than those people.
Basically, when we engage with tabloid media, we feel superior. So any political messaging from tabloid media becomes incredibly potent. Because tabloids trade in strong emotions, fear-mongering is one of their most effective and damaging tools. The role of exaggeration in tabloid reporting is directly associated with a feedback loop between sensational media and inflammatory political rhetoric that deepens social division.
Bellobat, thanks so much for subscribing at tier 1 for 3 months in advance. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I guess the like political aspect of this that's important is that I guess what she's saying is that like people are causing like political division with Rob Beauty Christie because a lot of this woman's video about Rob Beauty Christie was about whether or not Rob Beauty Christie was MAGA or is MAGA or has like problematic political beliefs in general.
But not all tabloid stories are political, of course. Most of them are humiliating stories about sex or relationships, or shocking stories about wrongdoing. Crimes or alleged crimes play a really big role in tabloid reporting. But beyond that, accusations of wrongdoing are usually enough to grab a reader's attention.
But like, do I want takes about American politics from an Australian? I promise you that is a criticism that many people have for this person. Many people have criticisms, and similarly,
What did I walk into?
Enta, Soupy Gus, thanks so much for 23 months. And similarly, a lot of people have problems with her taking issue with Peter Monn talking about Raw Beauty Christie, because it's like, well, Peter Monn is a gay person in the United States who is impacted by potentially the like homophobia and transphobia of Raw Beauty Christie, if she really holds those beliefs, right? And so, like, why shouldn't he be able to speak out about that? And why should some random faceless person from Australia have an opinion about that? I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. My political take for the U.S. as an Australian is that your president is a loser predator. Well, that's also not to say, by the way, I do think other people in the world are allowed to have political opinions about what's happening in the United States, because the United States is a major player in the grand scheme of the world, and like the things that happen here have a lot of negative impacts on other people in this world. But it is to say that Peter Monn is an actual like gay person living in the United States who's allowed to have an opinion about a major social media influencer potentially being homophobic or transphobic. You feel me? Do you feel me?
But tabloids didn't remain in print media or even in the hands of media companies. They've been democratized since the advent of the internet. In 2004, 26-year-old Mario Armando Lavandera Jr. began his blog under the moniker Perez Hilton. Perez Hilton's blog posts would go on to define many of the pop culture conversations over the next decade and a half. His reporting was characterized by elements of sensationalism, and it was all wrapped up in derogatory nicknames and the punitive practice of sharing as much private information as possible to cause the greatest amount of humiliation.
All right, so let's focus on that. Let's pause right there, because what she just talked about, I think, is actually the key difference in Perez Hilton versus like most online drama commentary channels, etc. Perez Hilton was like going out of his way to exploit personal and private things about celebrities. Perez Hilton was going out of his way. If you don't know, he's a person who blogged about celebrities back in like the early 2000s. He got really popular and famous from it. And he was known for like really crossing boundaries in terms of like privacy of some of these people. He outed people, yes, like Pez said. And he also was just like really rude and said like horrible things about these people. Much different situation. A much different situation than like Peter Monn talking about something that a public figure did with her platform, right? Much different than like me sitting down and watching a vlog that Rosie chose to upload onto her own channel because she wants people to consume it. So I do just want to make that distinction because, I don't know, like I have, as somebody who does feel strongly that like Perez Hilton did a lot of fucked up things, there have been times where people have made comparisons, and it's something I've like reflected on and thought like, ooh, would I classify what I do as being similar? No, I don't think I would, outside of like we're talking about public figures, but the way we go about it is so different.
Perez was like a dog with a bone, harassing celebrities over a period of years for the same perceived faults, flaws, or character traits. It's not controversial to say that Perez Hilton dehumanized his celebrity subjects in his reporting. In fact, I would say it's common knowledge.
Hello, editing townsperson here. I just wanted to say that I finished filming this video the day before Perez Hilton's very public and traumatic psychotic episode. I am incredibly saddened by his actions, and I'm also really upset by the fact that so many people encountered that with no warning. I have no ill will towards Perez. I really hope he's supported in his recovery.
Is this person Gen Z? Because I don't think they get how much of a reach it is to compare Peter and Perez. Like, millennials get it because we were there. Yeah, I don't know what their demographic or background is, to be honest.
Also hope all the people who encountered that video are able to recover. My critique in this video is entirely concerned with his actions as a blogger and a media personality.
One thing that became...
Mind you, I don't know that that Perez Hilton, by the way, has ever covered Raw Beauty Christie or talked about Raw Beauty Christie. Again, this is like where my personal criticism of this comes in, is like it feels like I don't know why we're bringing up Perez Hilton in this conversation. We haven't even heard their opinions yet, though. Fair enough, Colin. I'm getting a little bit ahead because I do know what some of their opinions are. So I am laying some level of groundwork here based on what I already know. But you are correct that we haven't heard a ton of things yet.
Clear from Perez's online empire is that behavior in online spaces can be so much more intense than IRL because the balance of power is skewed. Researchers have found a specific style of text-based language use that has grown out of weaponizing gossip online.
A key finding in protecting identity and reputation studies is that people will deliberately use specific words to protect themselves while harming others if it achieves a goal of preserving one's own identity and reputation.
And the key to understanding this as a power exchange is in the solidarity of the commenters under posts that use this kind of language.
The gossiping here shows solidarity amongst people by transmitting information about a person's identity and reputation, which influences our view of behaviors. Setting up oppositional roles is done by the initiating author to present their view of the world as right, hence protecting them while persuading others to view the person being gossiped about to be at fault. This strategy is taken further when the gossip or rumor spreading involves serious accusations.
We think of Perez Hilton's aesthetic style for insulting and harassing people, his use of nicknames, the exaggeration, the way he shares private information, as gauche. As I mentioned earlier, I don't think it's controversial to say that Perez Hilton's style of writing dehumanizes his subjects.
I didn't even see celebrities as human beings in a lot of ways. I viewed them as characters in my soap opera.
But we don't seem to recognize this from our current commentators. Because all of this is still alive and well, it just looks a little different now. Drama and commentary channels dehumanize their subjects by using a moral framework to accuse people of being immoral people. And interestingly, it's easy for them to insult people in pretty much the same way that Perez Hilton did by simply framing their insults as a criticism of choice. I recently saw a drama commentator insulting Michaela Nogueira's skin, but they didn't just say that her skin was busted. They said her skin looked really bad, so that must be evidence of the fact that her skincare line doesn't work. Even though they started with the sentence, her skin looks really bad, they ended it by convincing us that they're allowed to insult her physical appearance because they're not actually insulting something she can't change.
Okay, so when I heard this part, I think that there is an issue here. Yes, Colin, like you said, the issue is that we're using a broad brush to paint all drama channels in a certain type of way. And also, I don't think that this particular example is that out of line in terms of, like, if you know anything about Michaela Nogueira, which is to say that she has been called out specifically in the past. Like, one of the biggest scandals that she had was that she was faking the the power of like mascara, that she put on false eyelashes to make it look like the mascara that she was sponsored by worked better than it actually did, and that she didn't disclose that. It was a huge thing. So do I think it's fair for people who cover Michaela, who cover her drama related to makeup, to be critical of her skincare line and be critical of how her skin looks based on what she says her skincare line is doing? I think that's fair. Is it something I would do? Probably not, because I don't cover that particular type of content. So I'm not here to sit here and tell you whether or not I think Michaela's skin is good or not, because I don't know anything about skincare. I don't know what she claims her skincare line can or can't do. But I think if you're a beauty influencer that has a skincare line that you're selling to people, then I think it's fair for people to be critical about what your skin looks like. This content creator is presenting this in a way where it's like, how dare these people come for Michaela's skin? And it's like, well, she's in the business, in the beauty business, and she's selling people products and trying to make money off of her audience, which, to be honest, is what I think a lot of the people who cover beauty influencer drama got started with to begin with. It was, these people are making millions of dollars off of the people that watch their content, by doing brand deals, by starting makeup lines, by doing this, that, the other. The least they can do is be honest about those things. And when they weren't honest, there were people on the internet that were like, we need to talk about this. So that's why I'm like, this isn't a great example. And also, like, I feel like she's really trying to paint this broad stroke about people being good or bad or whatever.
Insulting her choice, her actions, and within that, her reputation. Broadly, though, the exact same language and subject matter of 1780s scandal sheets are splashed all over YouTube drama and commentary thumbnails. Characters of the present most celebrated courtesans exposed with a variety of secret anecdotes never before published is just yesterday's Gabby Hanna exposed by former fans. Everything about these thumbnails was present 100 years ago. Images of people at their ugliest, caricatures of their likenesses, the use of words like shocking, exposed, secret, predator, and abuse.
Okay, well, this says James Charles Brand is in trouble. That doesn't sound like the most scandalous thumbnail to me. That doesn't sound like, they're making him out to be anything horrible. Whatever happened to Nikita Dragon, and it's a picture of her and then a picture of her behind bars because she was arrested, doesn't seem too egregious. Doesn't seem too egregious. Some of these, like, this isn't super kind. I don't even know who that person is. This thumbnail obviously picked like the worst possible picture. But I'm just like, a thumbnail of this is a Peter Monn thumbnail, by the way. But a thumbnail of Raw Beauty Christie and it's saying hypocrite. It's just like, I don't understand what this is supposed to do. Like, none of this is like the really crazy stuff that she's claiming people are using to scandalize people.
Were all used in scandal sheets. The sharing of information that may or may not be true, that might be exaggerated.
Oh, yeah. And then, oh, yes. Yeah. Kiki Chanel over in this thumbnail talking about James Charles being extremely evil. Because he is. He's a self-admitted predator. He's an actual self-admitted predator, divas.
subject of the story is insulted, humiliated, and punished, and we see that all reflected in the comments below. And the focus on controversial stereotypes, like homophobic ideas about gay men or sexist stories about women, they're all still present in drama and commentary channels, but now people are blamed for allegedly perpetuating those stereotypes rather than just ridiculed for representing them. Can you see the difference? It's a moral judgment on the stereotype itself, but the blame is still placed upon a person who is humiliated, and the stereotype still takes center stage.
I don't the stereotype thing, I don't know what she's trying to say in this situation. Outside of like, if she's trying to say the stereotype of like gay men being predators or things like that, but like in the case of James Charles, he actually is. Again, self-admitted and multiple reports of him doing such things.
As an example, let's return to Christie. Peter Monn is a drama channel who created an effective smear campaign against Christie based on her alleged support of fellow influencer James Charles.
I do find it also interesting that she called it a smear campaign against Raw Beauty Christie. Because that sounds like Peter was like acting alone and was like some big mastermind outside of just being somebody who talks about online internet drama. You know, just for what it's worth, if you go search, like if you search Raw Beauty Christie and then James Charles, you can see, oh well, that's a post from her. You can see that there's other people that have discussed her situation of following James Charles. This Do We Know Them podcast talked about it 2 years ago. The Dailies, Dustin Daly and Nick Snyder talked about it. Rich Lux talked about it. Another Dustin Daly video. Of course, Peter Monn. Adam McIntyre talked about it. So it's just like... It's like... It wasn't like Peter Monn was sitting over here directing all these people to be discussing it. Also talk about... Argyle Pigeon says, how about actually discussing YouTube's algorithms that essentially force creators to make clickbaity titles and thumbnails? I think there is probably some aspect of that for sure. Like that if we're having a conversation about, you know, like why YouTubers use certain thumbnails and things like that, I certainly think that's part of it.
I'm not going to rehash this entire situation because I spoke about it in detail in my original video. What I will say is this. Peter Monn used a phone conversation with Christie to convince everyone that she is a duplicitous, uncaring snake. Her crime was following and liking some photos of an influencer online. This story is so exaggerated that I honestly can't take it seriously because not only has Peter recently confirmed the disclosure I mentioned in my original video, which negates the basis of this moral attack on Christie, but he also keeps saying that she needs to apologize for the fact that she took 4 whole days to unfollow James Charles after their phone call.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that it's not just some influencer, and I think Peter Monn has explained ad nauseum at this point that the reason that it matters is because Christie is somebody who is respected in the beauty influencer community, and Raw Beauty Christie herself is somebody who has called out other influencers. She was one of the biggest reasons that Jaclyn Hill's like makeup situation, her lipstick situation, got to be such a big deal. So yeah, I think people really do value Christie's opinion, and if she's co-signing by following and engaging in James Charles content without publicly saying anything about James Charles, I think people are allowed to be upset about that. Anyways, these are apparently screenshots of the transcript from a Peter Monn video. So here we are.
In this phone call, Peter attempted to manipulate Christy by indirectly threatening her. He confirmed saying that if she wasn't going to do the right thing, then she would face consequences.
Also, I've listened to Peter tell this story so many times because to I guess this lady's point, Peter has brought it up a lot, usually for context and backstory anytime that he discusses Raw Beauty Christie. But Raw Beauty Christie was the one, to my understanding, that engaged or like that asked for the phone call and was asking for his advice. Peter, at no point, to my understanding, told her she had to do anything. He just said, hey, here is my opinion on what you do, and what you do, yeah, it's going to probably have consequences depending on what you decide to do with this situation.
Though those consequences were inevitable, and not his choice to continue harassing her. After this phone call, Christy vowed to never again communicate with any drama or commentary channels, but Peter won't take any responsibility for this. In fact, he suggested in response to my deep dive that I should have reached out to Christy for comment. How was I going to do that, Peter? You made sure she would never speak to any of us ever again.
Also blaming Peter Monn for Christy setting up boundaries to not talk to commentary channels is also so silly. Is also so silly to me personally.
I literally couldn't get in touch with her. I tried. I bring this up because it's a great example of the power exchange described in the research about online gossip and tabloids. Peter has used specific words like the phrase supporting a predator, and sometimes also private information like a phone call, to position himself as a good person whilst convincing others that Christy is a piece of shit.
Well, to that point, your behavior, disgruntled townsperson, could be described and explained in the same way, because you are sitting here using charged language like Peter Monn threatened Christy. You're making accusations as if you were privy to a private phone call that Peter had with Christy, which I imagine you were not. That's what I said earlier. Isn't she doing the same thing? Oh yeah, in many ways, for sure. And it's just like, I don't understand why you think that you're like different in this situation. You're also using really charged language. Charged language that makes it sound like Peter Monn was some kind of monster threatening Christy on the phone as if you were there for it. The whole academic coded thing at the beginning really was just a shield to make the actual petty drama seem legit. Well, yeah, that's why I was just like, she bases this all in like academia. When I don't think that it's really as academic as she's making it.
I specifically like this example because it's so flimsy, but the reason this story has taken hold is because Peter's argument is a moral argument. He's saying that Christy is immoral because she liked some posts from James Charles, but countless people still believe Peter's version of the story because he created the narrative and he mentioned it in over 25 videos.
Well, because he's the only one that's talked about it. He's talked about his own experience, and people generally believe Peter because he has grown an audience that trusts him.
Since 2023, every time
she's really acting like she knows for a fact that like the conversation Peter had with Christy didn't happen the way that Peter said it happened.
Mentioned James Charles, he's mentioned Raw Beauty Christy, and he won't let Christy off the hook for it, even now, even after she's proven multiple times that she doesn't support James Charles, because he's been crafting a narrative based on this moral framework for years, and he'd have to admit that that was unreasonable to let it go. The solidarity in his comments section reinforces this power imbalance, and the solidarity is real. People were coming to my video where I illuminated Peter's manipulation of the situation to tell me that I should apologize to Peter Monn for pointing out what he did using his own words. Now, Peter Monn isn't...
I hate when people put text up for you to read and still talk. No, for real. For real, which is why I'm not doing all of that. Why I'm not going and reading all of those transcripts in this moment, because I'm here to focus on what she's saying. But yeah. Also, like, people are allowed to disagree with you. People are allowed to come out here and be like, "Hey, diva, I don't agree with how you characterize Peter Monn in this video." Honestly, considering I don't even watch Peter or know who Christy is, she's not doing a good job of convincing me she's right. Fair enough. I feel like Peter calling out Christy is actually an act of concern, because I wouldn't make a big deal out of it if he didn't care about her and her reputation. Yeah, I think it certainly started that way. I think he's now just like, this is so fucking stupid. At least that's my interpretation. But I think when he started it, it was because he genuinely, like, enjoyed Christy as a content creator. And now it just turned into this huge ass thing.
And the same as Perez Hilton.
Oh, wait. I want to go back to that. Because she says that he's not the same as Perez Hilton. So why the fuck are you gonna eventually go and make the comparison?
Words. Now, Peter Monn isn't the same as Perez Hilton, but he's shockingly similar. Both of them are gay men who have used their platforms to mock mostly women.
All right, she put that up for 2 seconds.
Both of them are gay men who
She put this up for 2 seconds. Put this up for 2 seconds and says that they're both gay men who mock women, who mock mostly women for their platform. Let's just take a deep dive. Let me remove the captions for 2 seconds. And let's take a deep dive into the thumbnails that she chose to use here. All right. First thumbnail, Shane Dawson. Decidedly not a woman. Raw Beauty Christie. Okay. Tati Westbrook. Okay, that's a woman. Amy Slayton and Tammy Slayton. Two people that he actually likes and enjoys and DMs with regularly. Amberlynn Reed. That's a woman. Joey Graceffa and Daniel Prada. Not women. Gabby Hanna. Sure. Colleen Ballinger, creepy predator, probably deserves some commentary to be made on her. Gabby Hanna, yeah, she's a woman. Manny MUA versus Laura Lee. Well, I guess one of those is a woman. Tammy Slayton's Big Secret exposed, and it's just about Tammy Slayton being engaged. Sister Wives, a TV show that Peter really enjoys watching. Colleen Ballinger, Tati and James and Jaclyn Hill. James Charles, Jeffree Star, and then Tana Mongoose, I never know how to say her name, video about being sober. And then here are the stats for November 2025 to August 2026, 8 months. Thumbnail and title critical of women, 1 count for 1 woman's name, 96. Thumbnail and title critical of gay/queer men, 1 count for 1 man's name, 56. Thumbnail and title critical of men not categorized, 32. Total videos counted, 184. And I'm just like, who is Peter allowed to talk about? As my confusion, is he not allowed as a peer to have opinions on other gay men? First of all, like, I just want to say that, like, why shouldn't he be able to have discourse about other gay queer men? This woman has at least like three videos, I think, about lesbians, the L word, the queer ultimatum, and then the lipstick lesbians deep dive. I don't even know if this person is queer or not. Should she be allowed to have opinions about queer people in that case? I don't know. Outside of that, Colleen Ballinger absolutely deserves to have people to discuss her nonsense and behavior. James Charles, absolutely a predator. Like, I don't know. I'm confused. But yeah, also Serena, thank you so much for that point. He started off talking about the beauty community, which is, shocker, filled with women and gay men. So I don't know what to tell you. She's acting like these are good, wholesome people he's just talking shit about for no reason. I guess so. It's just, and like I said earlier, it's very much giving the like Rosie saying that like gay men just hate fat women. But you know, I would almost argue that had Rosie broken things down like this, like Rosie would have a better argument, to be honest. Like, I'm sure if you did do an analysis of my channel, like a large percentage of my thumbnails and titles would be about fat women, right? But it is just, this is absurd to me. Listen, I'm not saying that I think Rosie has a good point. I'm just saying that she would have a better case than this woman has about Peter. I think it's dumb and flawed to begin with, because it's just like, you know, there are many parts of my identity that are salient when it comes to like Amberlynn and Rosie and things like that. And in particularly in Rosie's case, I wouldn't even be coming out here making content about her if it wasn't for the fact that like she involved herself in my life in a way that was incredibly uncomfortable. But it is to say that, like, you know, Rosie and Amberlynn are both queer people and I identify with that. I think I have opinions about that. I think I've shared like lots of valid feedback about their lives in that sense, and in many ways like defending them and those aspects of their identities. And that's not to say that Peter isn't also doing that in some of these things. I've watched Peter for a long time. I've never gotten the impression that he was specifically targeting women or gay men. It is the fact that he started as a beauty guru drama channel.
Their platforms to mock mostly women. Both of them have spent years haranguing individual celebrities to create moral outrage that would justify their harassment.
Moral outrage to justify their harassment. Again, I want to remind you that she said that they're not the same, but she has continued to go on and try to make the comparison that they're the same. Mind you, these examples that she's putting up now, one is Michaela Nogueira versus James Charles. Nothing about that is discussing inherently their morals in the thumbnail or the title alone. Michaela Nogueira and Jaclyn Hill's Greed and Lies have ruined the beauty space. That, I think, is a fair conversation for two people who have been accused of like misleading their audiences when they make lots of money being influencers in the beauty space. Perhaps the only one that could potentially be even considered a conversation about morals is maybe this very top thumbnail about Michaela Nogueira's divorce. Maybe? I guess. I just don't understand what point she's trying to make here.
celebrities to create moral outrage that would justify their harassment. Both of them dehumanize their subjects by choosing only the worst possible aspects of someone's personhood or actions to represent.
This is the worst possible attributes of Jaclyn Hill. This isn't even the worst thing about her in this thumbnail. It says Jaclyn Hill's been a bad girl. Jaclyn Hill can't lie her way out of this. Jaclyn Hill fans and influencers are done with her. If I recall correctly, I think this was her like talking about being poor. I don't know. So maybe there's some moral outrage there, but it's like not even the worst thing that Jaclyn Hill has done on the internet. Perhaps her video would be better if instead of naming names, it focused purely on the human love for drama and gossip and how that can harm both people reading and watching the drama and the subject of it. Yeah, because I think there is a conversation to be had. Like, there is a conversation to be had that, like, regardless, and I think this nuance is sometimes lost for people in girl world, right? Like, regardless of if you like the person, it doesn't mean that the other person on the person on the other side of it isn't a human, right? Like, that doesn't have feelings. However, if somebody's truly doing something wrong, I don't have to prioritize their feelings to make a video about, like, why it's problematic. So yeah, we can have a conversation about how Jaclyn Hill might be negatively impacted by little old Peter Monn. But, like, if she's actually doing things that are problematic, why are we not allowed to talk about that? I don't know.
Only the worst possible aspects of someone's
mind you, she's also comparing this right now to, like, Perez Hilton focusing on Lindsay Lohan smoking, the Lindsay Lohan, what she was wearing without a bra, saying, come on, Lindsay, even if you don't care about the cancer and other diseases, you should quit because smoking causes premature aging. Like, that is such a different comparison to, like, every video I've ever watched of Peter Monn talking about Jaclyn Hill and, like, not disclosing sponsorships, being dishonest about her makeup and things like that.
Or actions to represent them. Both of them have used their personal relationships with public figures to share private information or create salacious narratives aimed at ruining their reputation.
Shared stuff about their private. This is all based on the one private conversation that Peter had with Christy.
Private information or create salacious narratives aimed at ruining their reputation. And neither of them has ever taken sincere responsibility for any of this. Perez Hilton has apologized, but only because he's achieved absolution through accepting God. So I don't think that's a real apology because he thinks he got away with it. Oh, actually, you know what? There is one major difference between the two. And
it's real crazy that she continues to compare him to Perez Hilton, even after she said she doesn't think they're similar. It's just nuts to me.
That's the fact that Perez Hilton was 26 years old when he started his blog. Peter Monn was 45 when he started his drama channel. Now, I want to be clear. Peter is not the only one who does this, okay? All of the drama channels and many of the commentary channels partake in this as well. And it's something that, we all navigate one video.
Also, what does Peter's age have to do with it? Like, to be fair. Also, literally 26 is when your brain has formed. Diva. Like, 26 still is an acceptable, like, excuse to do bad things. Like, I don't understand the thinking and logic here. It really seemed like just like a personal dig at Peter being old for no reason.
At a time. I want to be clear, I don't think there is anything unforgivable about this, because people are always capable of learning and adapting their content and understanding more about the impact that they can have. I know some people see me in the umbrella of a commentary channel, and I sort of leaned into that in my last video, but truthfully, I consider myself a video essayist. But
No, you're an online commentator. Diva.
I'm very new. This is my 6th video, and I'm still trying to figure out what I think the best way to talk about people is. I worried that...
It kind of sounds like you think you shouldn't be talking about people altogether. What do you mean? It seems like your point here is that you shouldn't be talking about people altogether, Diva.
My Lipstick Lesbians video was a little bit too critical. I wondered if I could have put in more about what they did well. And I think that informed some of the mistakes that I made with my Raw Beauty Christie video, so I'm definitely figuring it out as I go along. This is not an indictment of every drama or commentary channel by any...
No, it's not. It's an indictment of Peter Monn, since you selectively singled him out and compared him to Perez Hilton. Although I will say it does feel like she's trying to say, this is like earlier in her argument before she like honed in on Peter Monn, it really did feel like she was painting this broad stroke about all drama commentary channels.
But Peter is a great case study of the modern tabloid because he's been very upfront about the fact that he doesn't care about ethics in his videos. He feels no moral responsibility whatsoever. So
what is that? No, I'm sorry. I've watched far too many Peter Monn videos, and that is not ever the vibe that I've ever gotten from him. Girl, what? Again, bias. I'm a Peter Monn fan and friend, but like, what?
So I really have no qualms calling him out for this because he responded to my critique and this is what he said.
First of all, drama commentary.
She likes fingerless gloves too. No, I think those are actually press-on nails like glued to the gloves she's wearing.
For this because he responded to my critique and this is what he said.
First of all, drama commentary channels would not exist if people didn't fuck up to begin with, okay? If you hadn't made this video and Christy hadn't fucked up to begin with, I would have nothing to talk about with Raw Beauty Christie, all right? I have never claimed to be...
Well, there you go. First of all, did y'all catch that? Did y'all peep that?
Hadn't fucked up to begin with, I would have nothing to talk about with Raw Beauty Christie, all right? I have never claimed...
So there's 2 different clips. Just so we're on the same page, from 2 different videos. 2 different clips from 2 different videos. And also, yeah, had Christy not made poor choices, there wouldn't have been, like, Peter wouldn't have talked about it to begin with.
To be an ethical investigative reporter. You got me fucked up. I don't know where you ever thought that.
She's taking that way out of context. It's not that he doesn't care about morals or care about people. He's just saying because people want to treat him and other drama commentary channels like investigative journalists. Peter isn't an investigative journalist. And that's what he's saying. I'm not like an ethical investigative journalist. I'm quite literally just somebody that's giving my opinion on the internet. Like, she wants to hone in on like, oh, he's not ethical.
Never said I was anything but a shit-talking gossip tea channel. I have always said that.
Right.
I've never claimed to be an investigative reporter doing massive research. That is not my responsibility. When we started as drama commentary channels, do your fucking research, okay? We were covering shit like Patrick Starr rolling his eyes and Manny and Jeffrey doing things at the same time. Christy wanted to be part of that community as somebody with 1 million subscribers, okay? She's part of the beauty industry. I was covering beauty influencers on YouTube. She's part of that, okay? I'm sorry she made such shit moves that now this is what I'm covering, okay?
Okay. Ooh, I'm smiling under my hood here. It's actually...
I don't care what you're doing under your hood, Diva.
such
If you want me to know you're smiling, take the hood off, Diva.
a blessing when someone else does your work for you. Thank you, Peter. You're right. That's exactly what I'm saying that you're doing. Please continue.
I'm a shit-talking gossip tea channel. That's what I am. I don't claim to be moral high ground. If you want to call it virtue signaling, call it virtue signaling. I do not think that I am the moral compass of the world.
Okay, there's a distinct difference in how she's interpreting this. She's out here saying that he has no ethics, no morals. What he's saying is, I'm not saying that my morals are any better than anybody else's, but he's not saying I don't have any morals. It's so annoying. She's like, oh, look, here's Peter saying it himself. He doesn't have any morals. No, he's just saying, like, I'm not out here saying that, like, my morals are the best, that you have to subscribe to my morals. He has morals. He has morals that he very much cares about. They just maybe don't align with what this disgruntled townsperson's morals are. And that's like what irritates me about the conversation with me when it comes to people talking about my morals and things like that, is like, you don't have to agree with my morals. And if me having the morals that I have makes you feel some type of way, like, that's for you to investigate. Like, that's for you to decide why me having morals about certain situations makes you feel some type of way, right? So I feel like she's extremely taking this out of context.
So to say that I am virtue signaling, or I am the moral high ground of something, or that I'm the gatekeeper on this, I've never claimed to be that, all right? Call that what you want. Call that narcissism, gaslighting, virtue signaling. I don't care. Put every label on me that you want. I will respond to it again. I will keep this going. I am a drama commentary channel. When this person got this video and talked about virtue signaling and all this, honey, I don't know about all that, all right? I just don't, you know? People say, oh, you're a narcissist. I might be. I don't know. Maybe I am a narcissist. Maybe I'm the biggest narcissist in the entire world. Maybe I virtue signal all the time. I don't really know. To be honest with you, I don't even fucking know what those things mean sometimes, okay? To use them in the context of this word. This gal, she does so much word vomit, I didn't even understand what she was saying half the time in her video. You know, Gabby Hanna years ago said, manage your expectations. And she's right.
Oh my god, not the Gabby Hanna. Okay, truly incredible, Peter. I couldn't have asked for more from you. Amazing. It's just such a good defense, because how could I call on Peter to be better if he doesn't give a shit? Incredible. Anyway,
I don't think that's what he's saying. You were previously trying to say that he was standing on a moral high ground and virtue signaling about things that he actually does care about. If your original argument was that he was not actually concerned about these things with Raw Beauty Christie, these things that are actually problematic. As a fellow gay person in the United States, I don't much give a shit about Raw Beauty Christie because I don't follow her like that. But based on what I know about it, it does bother me if she is a part of like an organization that supports anti-trans rhetoric. Like, that does matter to me. And I genuinely believe, when I've listened to Peter talk about that specific situation, and when I've heard him talk about all the problems with people like James Charles and Colleen Ballinger, I believe that he actually has morals and cares about those things. Him saying that, you trying to dismiss that by saying that he's virtue signaling or standing on a moral high ground, he's saying that's not his problem. He's saying it doesn't matter to him if you think that those that he's not being authentic about those morals, because he knows he's being authentic about those morals. And I can tell you that because this is the same rhetoric that people use about me. People, anytime that I want to come to the internet and talk about things that genuinely I do care about, in recent history, that's been things like a free Palestine. That's been things like the way that ICE treats immigrants. It's the way that trans people are treated in our country. It's all of those things, right? And anytime I've ever brought up that thing, or like when I brought up that Chantal's racist, or that, Rosie was getting on platform with a predator, on a live stream with a predator, like, it always ends up somebody saying that, like, I'm virtue signaling, or that I'm trying to stand on a moral high ground, or God forbid I say this name, but like when I've talked about Nikki T and Cam, like, people are like, oh, Zach's on a moral high ground. No, I'm not. Those are my morals. And if you don't agree with them, that's fine. You take a second to decide how that applies to your life and how that applies to you continuing to watch me. But I'm not sitting over here claiming to be on a moral high ground. I'm just saying this is what my morals are.
So this is completely in line with tabloid journalists, by the way, because I looked this up. I was like, well, now I have Peter's response. I was wondering, do these tabloid journalists feel the same way? Well, this is what they think. Tabloid journalists defend the lack of ethics of their field by arguing that they are in the entertainment business. Therefore, ethics pertaining to fact-based information and the public good does not apply to their work. Alrighty then. Anyway.
Well, that's just like, obviously that's an issue, but that's not the same conversation we're having here.
The other thing.
In a way, Zach, you feel like she's talking to you. She's obviously not talking to me, but I very much relate to some of these conversations, which is like why I said at the beginning of all of this, that's why this is all very interesting to me.
Thing about Peter is that he threatened me.
You're looking real homophobic right now. You already look racist with your microaggressions towards black women in your video, all right? So I don't know what you're going to say in this video. If it were me, I'm just giving you some real good advice. I'm telling you right now, what you should come out and do is put a post up and say, I'm removing the video.
So far, no threats.
This is not a topic where you can come back and revamp it. People are going to compare your first two videos. I already know people have downloaded this video, all right? They're going to compare your second video to the first video. I already know people are doing that behind the scenes. So you check it. I'm just telling you right now, all right? I'll be calling him.
Okay, so nothing about that was a threat. Now we've moved on to a different video, different clip. Different video, different clip.
Favors like you don't even know that people owe. I'm just telling you right now, okay? And I will interview police people online, and I will tell you the information I know, and that will be the moment that I do drop the video.
Also,
okay?
For the context here, Peter is talking about Peter's experienced a lot of like online harassment, as many people on the internet have, and that's what he's referring to here as somebody who's watched this video.
Okay, I'm just telling you right now.
The police? What are you talking about? The police?
He wasn't talking about you, ma'am. You're in fucking Australia. What? Let's use our brain. Let's use your brain. Why would he be calling the police about somebody who lives in Australia, Diva? Please be so serious.
Peter? I mean, I get the threat about sicking drama channels onto me, but the police? Right after you spent like 5 minutes talking about how you and your family members have been doxxed because you put your face and your...
Right, that's who he was talking about contacting the police about! He wasn't talking about you!
Legal name online, and then you tell me that I need to put my face and my name online, and now you're talking about the police? I'm an abolitionist. I wouldn't do that to you, but what are you talking about? Anyway, all of this works great because his commenters don't care either.
He wasn't threatening the police on you.
Peter Monn, I adore you. Keep speaking the truth. I understand he rambles in his content, but he has always been upfront that he is a drama gossip channel, and his viewers know that too. So you holding him to an academic standard is so strange to me. I'm really sad to see Peter being targeted again because of his integrity on the issue of James Charles and Christie. I can't help but think he's specifically being targeted because of his age and sexuality. 54 years old, gay. At disgruntled townsperson.
What the fuck was her editing and the laugh about that? Why is that funny? That's weirdly. In case you missed it.
To me. I'm really sad to see Peter being targeted again because of his integrity on the issue of James Charles and Christie. I can't help but think he's specifically being targeted because of his age and sexuality. 54 years old, gay.
Also, that's not even the direct... I didn't even realize because I wasn't looking at what she was reading from. I thought the commenter added in the 54 gay. She added that in to her script and then added the giggle. Girl, what's so funny about being 54 and gay? What is... That is so weird. Sorry, I don't know what noise my computer just made.
At Disgruntled Townsperson, has Peter ever claimed to be an intellectual?
Okay, I'm not holding Peter to an academic standard, I'm holding him to an ethical standard.
I called Peter Monn a public intellectual because I think that's part of the role drama and commentary channels serve, not for better, but for worse. Because these people are giving morally or politically coded commentary, people look to them to form their opinions. The problem is that in following the tried and true strategy of tabloids, these channels are changing the way that we relate to the people they talk about, which affects our ability to empathize. Laura Duggan wrote that,
Empathy is important because it is directly linked to pro-social behavior and with having a sense of social responsibility that enhances the lives of both the individual and the broader collective.
It's so wild. It's so wild to like categorize Peter Monn as this person who lacks empathy and doesn't care about like social responsibility, when in fact, like, specifically these people that she's talking about, the Rob Beauty Christie, the James Charles, like, these are people who genuinely have done bad things, or at least there's enough evidence to support that there's questions that Rob Beauty Christie should answer but hasn't. And I do think Peter covers those things from a place of empathy, from a place of concern, about the people who are impacted by that. He might not have the empathy that she wants him to have for Rob Beauty Christie or for James Charles, but that's because Peter Monn's empathy is rooted in the people who are impacted by that. When it comes to James Charles, his empathy is rooted in the concern of James Charles victims. When it comes to Colleen Ballinger, his empathy comes in the form of what happened to Colleen Ballinger's victims. When it comes to Rob Beauty Christie, his empathy is for the number of trans Americans who are negatively impacted by organizations like the one that Rob Beauty Christie is being accused of being associated with. So to say that like Peter lacks empathy when discussing these people in particular, like, I just don't see it. We don't have to have empathy for bad people. And again, I do think that there's some level of nuance there, right? Like, I'm somebody who still, despite thinking that like Amber Lynn, Chantal, Rosie, etc. are all not great people, I do still try to treat them in some level of like empathetic way. There probably is a conversation to be had there. But certainly when we're talking about predators like James Charles and Colleen Ballinger, like, you don't have to be empathetic towards those people. So to act like Peter's commentary is devoid of all empathy is crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
Such as volunteering and participation in local projects and community events, as well as a higher likelihood of avoiding engaging in antisocial behavior of all types, from rowdy public drunkenness and littering to causing harm to others.
Peter Monn dehumanizes his subjects by judging them only by their worst aspects, and his followers have formed a vocal brigade which he aims and fires at people.
And why shouldn't we form judgments about, I don't know, James Charles based on his self-admitted predator behavior? Tell me that. Help me understand that part. Like, why shouldn't we? Sorry. Like, why shouldn't we form opinions of him? Do you want out, buddy? I thought he did. Here, go ahead. Oh. Popo, no. Come on. Let me finish. I'm gonna dip before I flip. That's fair if you need to. I might wrap up soon anyways, because I just realized it's almost 6:30.
Inside and outside of the movement. He will simultaneously claim to be an activist and reject any responsibility for the harm that he causes.
Harm that he causes to who? Harm that he causes to who?
Interestingly, this flattening of all complexity is also present in the way that Peter's audience perceive him. He is not a person to his followers. He is a symbol. His identity makes him impervious to criticism and gives him a license to continue.
I promise you plenty of people are out there criticizing Peter Monn. I promise you there's plenty of people out there criticizing Peter Monn. She seems to think that just because there are people that agree with him and his takes, that means that nobody's criticizing him.
That's why they often refer to him as a gay man in America and not just Peter. But what really worries me is how this impacts the media literacy skills.
Well, he is a gay man in America who is impacted by these things that you're talking about. What do you mean? You're a faceless person in Australia.
Of his audience. Many of the comments that reference Peter as a gay man under my video seem to be referring to his commentary on my video rather than the video itself. They don't address the content of my work, but they cover all of his talking points. This kind of response worries me because it speaks to an inability or unwillingness to evaluate information, and I think tabloid-style commentary channels are making it worse. When you get your information from someone who also tells you how to feel about it,
I mean, there's certainly... So I can already tell then that she's gonna have an issue with if she chooses to watch any of this, she'll have an issue with this because to be fair, I did watch Peter's video before I watched this. But you know, I think it's fair to be frustrated if you feel like you made a point, which I'm watching this and I don't feel like any points have been made. But it might be frustrating that you feel like you made a point in your last video, and people are only coming back with Peter Monn talking points. But is it also possible that the reason they're responding with Peter Monn's talking points is because Peter Monn was right about his response to what you had to say about him? Like, what?
Go the practice of coming to your own conclusions. Instead of watching videos to learn new information, people are watching videos to be told what their opinion should be. Media literacy is a practice, and it requires a skill called the tolerance of ambiguity. That's the ability to navigate complex situations without flattening them to make yourself more comfortable. There's a disturbing trend in these leftist brigades that shows people are unwilling to or even fearful of listening to things that challenge or do not represent their ideas. I get the feeling that people are fearful of hearing something that may influence them in an unwanted way. And within that, I see a great deal of unconfidence in the ability people have to evaluate information on their own. I got so many comments on my video saying I didn't watch it.
I am so glad I didn't waste my time to watch a video of you kissing up to RBK for 4 hours straight.
I mean, I will say that I have experienced folks not watching my video and still having an opinion about it, and that is really irritating. It's not to say that there isn't a need for like media literacy or like forming an opinion and things like that. So I do think it's fair for her to be frustrated if she's getting comments like that. It's also really easy, I think, to say that this is everybody, right? That this is everybody who's opted to like not watch her video and come to this video with like points that they've already decided upon because they watched a Peter Monn video. Like these are examples of people who are admitting that they didn't watch it, but that doesn't mean that was everybody.
Thanks, comment section. Looks like 4 wasted hours. I'm good.
Beyond that, there were so many comments that show a shocking lack of discernment, critical thinking skills, and literacy. These comments called my video a 4-hour glaze of Christie. They claimed that I did no research and said that I was spreading misinformation. One of these comments actually included misinformation even after they just accused me of spreading misinformation.
Did you not acknowledge that your video wasn't good? Like, I don't, are like, she made a pinned on this original, pause, why are you not pausing? On this original video, she pinned a comment and said, "Hi everyone, I'll be following this video up and I'm going to take my time to do it right. Many comments on this video have been incredibly detailed, and several of those have recommended that I listen to podcasts, watch videos, and do research, which is going to take me time. I am genuinely committed to reciprocal discourse, which means I'm going to take the time to listen, consider, and follow up those recommendations. Thank you for all the comments and feedback." But now she's like, ugh. Now she's like, ugh. Y'all are just saying that I didn't do my research. Well, you kind of said that you didn't.
I never leave these as an XYZ comments, but as a trans viewer living in America, how dare you? How dare you tell trans people, and actual trans allies, how to perceive things going on in this country? Try. You clearly have no fucking clue about. How fucking dare you? Christy was aligned with an explicitly homophobic religious co-op. I don't care what Christy herself has said. Her son had on a "Don't Mess With Our Kids" t-shirt. It's called a dog whistle, sweetheart. Maybe listen to queer and trans Americans instead of making yourself look a fucking fool. Shame on you.
Christy's son didn't have a "Don't Mess With Our Kids" t-shirt on. One of the people in the float was carrying a handmade sign that said "Don't mess with our kids." Christy's son's t-shirt had like a Bible verse on it. This is a real issue though. We're expecting Christy to gain these skills after a lifetime steeped in propaganda and privilege. But why do so many leftists have really poor media literacy skills? I don't think everyone commenting on my video is stupid, by the way. As I said earlier, to be able to effectively learn new information and change your mind, you just have to practice reading, listening, and evaluating. I think we're stuck in a social media ecosystem that keeps us from changing our minds or admitting when we're wrong or practicing the patience.
I think that this person probably does have some good points to make. You know, we could have, I think, many conversations about media literacy, and we can also talk about like how she's making it hard to trust her. Like if we're talking about media literacy and she wants us to sit and listen and hear her out and things like that, I think the important part here about media literacy includes you as a video essayist not chopping together clips of Peter to make it sound like he was threatening to call the cops on you when that's not what he was talking about at all, right? So I think that goes in all directions. Like, I think you have to commit to doing that part as well. You have to commit to not misrepresenting Peter. You have to commit to, you know, not putting up thumbnails.
Her criticism of leftists in America is privileged, as someone who is not living in our current reality.
Sure. Yeah, Jamie, thanks so much for the 100 bits. You know, I do think also, like, I think what's important is not that she can't have an opinion about American politics, but that she shouldn't speak to understanding them as if she is a person living in America who's experiencing it. Does that make sense? So that's just my thoughts. How much longer do we have? Media literacy, virtue signaling. I might have to stop it just because I'm really out of time. I do want to emphasize that, like, I think what's sad about this is I think she's missed the opportunity to have some, like, decent conversations, you know, by like directing all of this specifically at Peter. Do I think that there's conversations that we could be having about, you know, like, treating the people we cover with empathy and understanding and not, like, completely dehumanizing them? For sure. Absolutely, that aligns with my feelings about how I try to approach my content to some extent. And also, like, why are you sitting over here telling people, like, saying that Peter Monn should have empathy for Christy, empathy for James Charles, empathy for Colleen Ballinger? Where's your call for those people to have empathy for the people they're negatively impacting? Where's your call for Raw Beauty Christy to have empathy to the potential large audience of LGBTQ viewers that she has who might feel some type of way because her son was involved in such a float. You know? Like those things are really frustrating to me. You know, where's your empathy when you're sitting here adding in giggles about Peter Monn being 54 and gay? Where's your empathy in covering Peter and like providing actual like receipts of the things you're claiming he's doing outside of just like putting up random thumbnails that don't really prove the point you're making? Where's your media literacy with that, you know? So I think that those things are the things that are frustrating for me in this conversation is that you're having all of this and it's just like there's so many things that you could be doing from your own level of advice. And on top of that, you are proclaiming to be some kind of like academic, intellectual video essayist. So like, in my opinion, the bar is higher for you. But here we are. Here we are. It's not to say that like people can't be more critical of what they're consuming. People can certainly, we should certainly trust that people could watch Peter's video and decide for themselves if they agree. You know, like he strictly does usually present things as just his opinion. He often has an opinion that upsets people about things. Like, I don't know what else to tell you about that. But anyways, I didn't anticipate talking about this for an hour and a half, and I do need to go do other things with my evening. So, bye YouTubies, subscribe!